Hello, I'm Pam Drew, and I'm a Game Change agency host brought to you by GCA Studios. I'm pleased to welcome you to this first in a series of interviews on the topic of cybersecurity oversight in the boardroom. And I'm delighted to introduce my first guest, Nick Donofrio. Nick is a 44-year veteran of IBM leading technology and innovation, and he's a member of several prestigious technical institutions, including the National Academy of Engineering. He serves on the board of directors of BNY Mellon, Delphi Automotive, AMD, the MITRE Corporation, and Liberty Mutual. He's also a director of the National Association of Corporate Directors, NACD, and he's recently earned his Cybersecurity Oversight Certificate, which again is focused at the board level. Given Nick's extensive experience in technology and in the boardroom, he is a perfect guest to discuss this important topic today. So Nick, welcome to GCA Studios. It's a pleasure to talk with you.
It's good to be here, Pam, and thank you for welcoming me.
Great. So Nick, it seems that not a day goes by that we don't hear about yet another cybersecurity breach or hack. The Equifax hack is the most recent and prominent, of course, and they are having more and more significant economic impact. A recent study shows that cybercrime has cost the global economy $450 billion in 2016 alone. And yet in a survey by NACD recently of public company directors, only 14% say they have a high level of knowledge of the cybersecurity capability in their company, and even only 4% say they think their company could withstand a cyber attack effectively. So clearly more needs to be done relative to cyber at the boardroom. So Nick, given your extensive experience with digital technology and business, what's your perspective on how the cyber threat has emerged and evolved over time?
Well, Pam, that's a great introduction, by the way. Very well said. But the fact of the matter is, we have to realize that we're responsible for this. We do this every day because we digitize things every day. We get the benefit of technology, and for a long time, we've had the benefit of technology with very little consequence other than paying for it. But now we find that the consequence is not our lack of satisfaction or our out-of-pocket expenses. It's now the threat of having someone take your identity, steal it, literally steal it. And along with that, all the consequences that you either imagine or actually do happen to you. But we have to keep reminding ourselves, Pam, that we do this every day because we as board members agree every day that technology is important and that we need to continue to move forward. We need the efficiencies, we need the effectiveness. And we as consumers, we do this to ourselves every day as well, right? You want that app so badly, you can taste it, you want it for free, you hit that little button that says, I agree, and you never ever read the I agree. So we have to be appreciative of the fact we're doing this to ourselves. And we, therefore, as directors, members of the board, we need to keep asking the question, do we really need to do that? Or do we really need to connect everything to everything? We say we have to connect everything to everything, but do you really have to connect everything to everything? How much happens because you do that last little bit of connection? How much good happens? But more importantly, do you have a framework for how much risk are you inheriting by making that last little connection? These are the questions, Pam, that board members need to start asking. They're simple, they're straightforward, doesn't require you to be a cyber expert in any way, shape, or manner, just simply requires you to care, to engage, and to keep a risk framework in mind that cybersecurity kind of fits into. But to all of my colleagues, please do step back and keep asking yourself the question, why are we doing this to ourselves? What is the value we're getting for it or from it? And do we really have an enterprise risk framework that we can actually understand, appreciate, and fit this into? Does that help you?
It does. It makes a lot of sense to me. And given using the context of an enterprise risk framework, that might actually give us a clue, and that leads to my next question,
right,
is how can we use that knowledge and our knowledge of our history of digitization and connecting things, et cetera,
right,
to help us prioritize
that's right,
what should be defended and how we should defend it and how much effort, time, resources should be spent.
So that's an excellent way of allowing me to say, how do you make this more effective in your enterprise? Because it's exactly from that framework, Pam, that you start to say, you know what? We have to build an organic system here, an organic defense mechanism. Organic in the sense that just as you and I, live every day, we live in the midst of fungus, of bacteria, of influenza.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over us on a regular basis, constantly, 24/7. But yet nothing bad happens to us because our body is constantly watching them, inspecting them, isolating them. And then if it needs to, our body will actually react to them. Our body will actually go to work on them. We need to build that kind of an organic system in our own enterprises. So there's something you protect that's very valuable, your heart, your brain, that's you can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
Only very few people can get there. And then you work your way out in concentric circles and you start to monitor what happens. So this is why some people don't necessarily subscribe to my thinking, because it requires a lot of hard work to be done. You have to start to prioritize what are the real assets, what's the real value, and you have to believe that, and you have to keep reminding yourself of what that is and continue to look at it, because it will change over time. And then you start to protect it. And by the time you get to the outer protection circle or ring, if you will,
mm-hmm.
you're quite aware of the fact that you may lose some of that. You may be infected. The bacteria may get to you. The influenza may get to you. The fungus may do something to you. And you have to be prepared to deal with that. I mean, maybe you give up the inconvenience of using your hand for a little while, or your foot for a little while, or, maybe your ear, becomes a problem for you. Just to stick with that analogy, that organic analogy. But that's the mindset you have. So that's the framework you put in place. That's the work you put in place that allows you to be able to deal with this. I will tell you this straight up, and I don't think anybody would get upset with this. That's pretty much the way the real valuable secrets within central governments are kept. Whether it's this country or any other country. There are those core secrets that very few people can touch.
Right.
That those are the things that you protect, and then you work your way out. And yes, you're sorry, as you lose things, the further away from the middle you get. But you're prepared to deal with that, Pam. You have an enterprise risk framework that says, okay, when that happens, we know that we can do this. And when that happens, but when this happens, we are in meltdown mode. I mean, we really have trouble. That's what directors have to start thinking about and start asking their CEOs, their chief information officers, their chief, security officers. That's what you have to start asking these people, is for that kind of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of your comments about security and secrets, particularly in a governmental context. I mean, there's a reason that secret programs are, quote, compartmentalized.
Right.
You don't connect everything
That's
to
right.
one another
That's
for
very
that
true.
very reason.